money came with ease, but one couldn't stop. It's like he had a disease. He robbed another and another.
What makes a rap song unforgettable? Is it clever punchlines, a catchy beat, or a story so powerful you can picture every scene in your mind? Tonight, we're settling one of hip-hop's biggest debates.
Look in a brother's direction as I ran the intersection.
5 legendary storytellers from the golden era will go head-to-head with 5 modern masters. No record sales, no chart positions, just pure storytelling. Our first battle takes us from the late 1980s to the 2010s. One song changed the way rappers told stories forever.
I've been down for days, you in my city and I can't see your face, I can't eat.
The other turned a deeply personal letter into one of the most emotional albums of its generation. This is old school versus new school. Throughout this series, we'll match classic storytelling masterpieces against modern classics in a battle across generations.
Guess like me, they accidentally go off making niggas memories, but this time is...
The winner isn't chosen by critics, it's chosen by you. Let's begin with round 1. At number 10, we have the man many call hip-hop's greatest storyteller. Standing across from him at number 5 is one of the most thoughtful lyricists of the modern era. Let's see who takes the first round. Number 5. Slick Rick. Children's story, old school, versus J. Cole. For Your Eyes Only, new school.
He shot back but he missed her. Looked round good and from expectations he decided he...
Before streaming playlists. Before cinematic music videos. Before concept albums became common, there was Slick Rick. Released in 1988, Children's Story sounded different from almost everything around it. Instead of focusing on bragging rights or battle rhymes, Slick Rick invited listeners into a complete narrative.
Once upon a time not long ago, when people wore pajamas and lived life.
Every verse unfolded like another chapter in a movie, introducing characters, building suspense, and leading toward an unforgettable ending. His voice became one of the song's greatest strengths. Rather than shouting or forcing emotion,
Grabbed the pregnant lady and pulled out the automatic. Pointed at her head, he said the gun was...
Rick delivered every line with the calm confidence of someone reading a bedtime story. That relaxed delivery made the events feel even more believable. You weren't just listening to a rapper. You were listening to a storyteller painting scenes with words.
My sister and her brother tried to rob a man who was a DT undercover. The cop grabbed his army.
The story follows a young man who dreams of easy money and quick success. He turns to crime, believing it will solve his problems. But every decision pushes him closer to disaster. The tension builds naturally as one bad choice leads to another.
Still hear him scream, this ain't funny, so don't you dare laugh. Just another case.
Reminding listeners that actions always carry consequences. What made Children's Story revolutionary wasn't just its plot. It was its accessibility. Even people who weren't dedicated hip-hop fans could follow the narrative from beginning to end.
Ran up the stairs up to the top floor, opened up a door there, guess who we...
It proved rap could entertain without sacrificing substance. Its influence stretched far beyond the late 80s. Countless artists borrowed its conversational style, cinematic pacing, and moral storytelling. Some even referenced the song directly in their own work.
Tonight we're gonna make some cash, robbing old folks and making the dash.
Acknowledging the blueprint Rick created. More than 3 decades later, Children's Story remains one of the clearest examples of why storytelling became one of hip-hop's greatest traditions. It wasn't just another hit. It became a lesson in how to turn everyday language into unforgettable cinema for the ears.
Before long, the little boy got surrounded. He dropped his gun, so went the glory and...
But while Slick Rick laid the foundation, the next artist asked a different question. What happens when the story isn't about strangers, but about your own family? J. Cole. For Your Eyes Only, new school. Nearly 30 years after Children's Story, J. Cole showed that storytelling in hip-hop had evolved into something even more intimate.
They interject like, nigga, what you talking about? Fuck is you getting at? He said, listen.
For Your Eyes Only isn't simply a song. It's a heartfelt letter. Throughout the track, Cole speaks directly to the daughter of a close friend who lost his life, explaining the hopes, mistakes, fears, and dreams that defined her father's journey. Rather than sensationalizing tragedy, he transforms it into a deeply human conversation. The song unfolds patiently. There are no flashy hooks demanding attention or dramatic beat switches designed for viral moments. Instead, Cole trusts the listener to stay with him as each verse gradually reveals the emotional weight behind the narrative.
Sometimes I think this segregation would have done us better, although I know that means that I would.
As the story progresses, what initially sounds like Cole reflecting on his own experiences slowly takes on a different meaning. By the end, listeners realize they have been hearing another man's life through Cole's voice, a powerful narrative choice that completely reframes everything that came before.
He said, Jermaine, I knew you since we was cheering. I never asked for nothing. When times was.
That twist doesn't rely on shock value. It works because the emotional connection has already been established. The revelation simply deepens the listener's understanding of the sacrifice, regret, and love woven throughout the song. Unlike many modern rap records built for instant replay, For Your Eyes only rewards patience. Every listen reveals another layer of meaning, another subtle detail, another emotional nuance that may have gone unnoticed before. The song proved that storytelling remained alive in the streaming era.
Like the time I'm living on is borrowed. With that said, the only thing I'm proud to say.
While production styles had changed dramatically since Slick Rick's time, the heart of great rap storytelling, honesty, character development, and emotional truth, had not. In many ways, Cole wasn't replacing the old-school formula. He was building upon it.
What he been dealing with lately, he wasn't telling. I tried to pick his brain still.
So here's the question. Which story stayed with you longer? The cautionary tale that inspired generations? Or the emotional letter that redefined modern storytelling? Cast your vote for this round in the comments. But don't decide the overall winner just yet.
Years old, now it's 30 years later, making sure the story's told. Girl, your daddy.
Because the next battle features one rapper describing what might be the greatest day of his life, going up against a modern masterpiece that becomes darker with every verse. Number 4, Ice Cube. It was a good day, old school, versus Dave. Lesley, new school. After a cautionary tale from Slick Rick, our next contender takes a completely different approach. Instead of telling the story of a life falling apart, Ice Cube asks a simple question. What if, for just one day, everything went right? Released in 1992.
Woke her up around 1, she didn't hesitate to call Ice Cube.
It Was a Good Day became one of the most iconic storytelling songs in hip-hop history. Not because of explosions, robberies, or dramatic twists, but because of its simplicity. Cube transformed an ordinary day into something unforgettable, proving that everyday life could be just as compelling as any crime saga.
Look in a brother's direction as I ran the intersection.
From the moment the song begins, listeners are dropped into South Central Los Angeles. Cube wakes up, looks outside, and immediately notices something unusual. No trouble, no police, no bad luck. In a neighborhood where uncertainty was part of daily life, even a peaceful morning felt extraordinary.
And everything is all right. I gotta beat.
As the day unfolds, every small victory feels meaningful. He enjoys breakfast, wins at basketball, spends time with friends, and avoids the violence that often surrounded his community. These moments might sound ordinary on paper, but Cube's vivid writing makes each scene feel cinematic.
Pulled out the jammy and killed the Pooh-nanny, and my Jimmy runs.
His calm delivery lets listeners experience the day alongside him, appreciating every detail because they understand how rare such peace can be. What makes the song brilliant is the tension hiding beneath its relaxed atmosphere. Even while everything is going well, the audience knows the good fortune can't last forever.
Nobody I know got killed in South Central LA today.
That quiet sense of uncertainty keeps listeners engaged until the very last line. Over the years, fans have debated whether the events were based on a real day or a fictional ideal. That mystery has only added to the song's legacy. Regardless of the answer, It Was a Good Day remains a masterclass in atmosphere.
Police and they roll right past me. No flexing, didn't even.
Showing that storytelling doesn't always need a dramatic ending to leave a lasting impact. More than 30 years later, the song still feels timeless. It captures hope in a place where hope was often hard to find, reminding listeners that sometimes the greatest stories come from the moments we usually overlook.
With no hope, I got my grub on, but didn't pig out, finally got.
But if Ice Cube celebrated one perfect day, our next artist explores what happens when one terrible decision destroys countless lives.
Turtleneck jumpers, makeup around the eye spots, all the signs were there.
Dave, Lesley, New School. British rapper Dave approached storytelling from an entirely different angle. Where Ice Cube found beauty in ordinary life, Lesley pulls listeners into a deeply unsettling narrative that becomes more heartbreaking with every passing minute.
It's emotional obsession, clinical depression, life is a lesson.
Released in 2019, the track unfolds like a psychological drama. Lasting more than 10 minutes, it refuses to rush its story. Instead, Dave carefully introduces Lesley, a young woman whose relationship slowly transforms from romance into emotional control, fear, and abuse.
Day in the morning he ran, she's doing overtime, struggling affording a flat till she.
What makes the song so powerful is its patience. Dave doesn't rely on graphic descriptions or exaggerated drama. Instead, he builds tension through realistic conversations, subtle warning signs, and the gradual isolation that many victims experience.
Can't even see it, but for them it's clear as day. She's in a situation her friend had.
Each verse reveals another layer of manipulation, making the story feel painfully authentic. As the narrative progresses, listeners aren't simply observing events. They begin to understand how difficult it can be to recognize abuse while living through it. Dave gives every character depth, avoiding easy stereotypes and showing how emotional manipulation can trap someone long before physical violence appears.
Late in December, her baby's expected to drop, she's accepted.
The production stays understated, allowing the lyrics to remain at the center. Every pause, every change in tone, and every moment of silence adds weight to the story. It feels less like a rap song and more like listening to a film unfold without pictures. By the time the final verses arrive, the emotional impact is overwhelming.
My boyfriend left me, so how the fuck am I gonna survive when his kid's born? And
rather than offering a neat resolution, Dave leaves listeners reflecting on the real-world issues the story represents. The song became widely praised not only for its writing but also for its empathy, proving that hip-hop can tackle difficult social issues with honesty and compassion.
Cause she's a good girl with a sweetheart, but they both got the.
Lesley demonstrated that modern storytelling rap isn't just about clever twists or lyrical complexity. It can also serve as a powerful form of social commentary, giving a voice to experiences that are too often ignored.
It's emotional obsession, clinical depression, life is a lesson.
Now it's your turn. Ice Cube's It Was a Good Day painted a vivid portrait of hope, turning an ordinary day into one of hip-hop's most beloved stories. Dave's Lesley confronted painful realities with remarkable depth, showing how modern rap can tell emotionally devastating stories that stay with listeners long after the music ends.
Day in the morning he ran, she's doing overtime, struggling affording a flat till she.
Which song wins round 2? Old School with Ice Cube or New School with Dave? Don't make your final decision yet, because the next battle brings one of hip-hop's darkest cautionary tales against one of the most personal relationship stories ever recorded. Number 3, Scarface. I Seen a Man Die, Old School versus Tyler, the Creator. Wilshire, New School.
Up against the same shit. I never understood why.
As we move deeper into this battle, the stories become darker. The previous round showed us one perfect day and one devastating relationship. But this matchup asks a much bigger question. What happens when you're forced to face your own mortality? Long before introspective rap became common,
I hear you breathing, but your heart no longer sounds strong. Scarface
was already exploring life, death, fear, and redemption in ways few artists dared to attempt. Released in 1994, I Seen a Man Die wasn't just another street record. It was a philosophical journey disguised as hip-hop. Instead of glorifying violence,
lying dead in the arms of your enemy. Imagine peace on this.
Scarface examined its consequences with brutal honesty, creating one of the most haunting storytelling songs ever recorded. The song follows a man consumed by crime, money, and power. At first, he believes he's untouchable. Respect comes through fear, and every victory convinces him that his lifestyle will never catch up with him.
And he's finally making 18, and his goals to get on top and try to stay clean.
But as the story unfolds, confidence slowly gives way to paranoia. Friends become suspects. Every unfamiliar face looks like a threat. Every knock at the door feels like the beginning of the end. Scarface's greatest strength is his ability to make listeners feel the emotional weight behind every decision. His calm, almost conversational delivery makes the fear sound real. He isn't trying to impress anyone. He's confessing what it feels like to realize that the life you built may also be the one that destroys you. Unlike many songs from the era, I Seen a Man Die doesn't celebrate violence.
Everybody's got a different way of ending it. And when your number comes for some,
it strips away the illusion of invincibility and forces listeners to confront the loneliness, anxiety, and regret that often accompany it. The title itself becomes symbolic. On the surface, it's about witnessing another person's death.
They dealing with the same stuff and had that attitude that who he was worth less.
But as the lyrics unfold, it becomes clear that the man dying is also a reflection of the narrator's own life and choices. The song's haunting production only deepens that feeling. Every note creates an atmosphere of dread, making it impossible to escape the sense that tragedy is inevitable. Over 3 decades later, I Seen a Man Die remains one of hip-hop's greatest cautionary tales. It proved that rap could wrestle with life's biggest questions without sacrificing authenticity, influencing generations of artists who would later embrace emotional vulnerability in their own music.
Never see a man cry till I seen a man die.
But if Scarface explored the fear of losing your life, our next storyteller explores the fear of losing the person you love.
Me in that movie, we went outside for them doobies. We walking off when we talk. Man, that nigga not.
Tyler, the creator. Wilshire, New School. If there is one thing that separates Wilshire from almost every modern rap song, it's its honesty. Released in 2021 as part of Call Me If You Get Lost, the track feels less like a performance and more like someone confessing their deepest secrets into a microphone.
Not an option, it's investments, cause your smile is the profit to me. I know around him you got.
There are no elaborate characters, no fictional settings, and no dramatic plot twists. Instead, Tyler, the creator, tells the uncomfortable truth about falling in love with someone who was never truly available. For more than 8 minutes, Tyler recounts the emotional highs and lows of a complicated relationship.
You know, I got every damn call.
He admits his mistakes, questions his decisions, and wrestles with feelings of guilt, jealousy, and longing. Rather than presenting himself as the hero, he openly acknowledges his flaws, making the story feel strikingly human. One of the song's boldest creative choices is its production.
We subtly press his buttons, not on purpose, but man, I found my purpose.
The instrumental barely changes from beginning to end, refusing to distract from the narrative. Every pause, every breath, and every shift in Tyler's voice becomes part of the storytelling. It's as if you're sitting across from a friend who's finally decided to tell you everything they've been hiding.
Parks playing chess games, giving wigs pet names, manicures, nights.
Unlike traditional storytelling songs that rely on action or suspense, Wilshire builds tension through emotion. The conflict isn't between rivals or enemies, it's between desire and conscience. Tyler knows the relationship is complicated, yet he can't stop himself from chasing it.
He left for some days, I cleared out my schedule, I cleared out my...
That internal struggle becomes the driving force of the entire song. As the story unfolds, Listeners aren't simply following a romance. They're witnessing someone confront the consequences of emotional choices that can't be undone.
Nigga don't deserve it. And plus y'all got depth. I'm just a nigga on the surface, for real.
By the end, there are no easy answers, no perfect resolutions, and no fairy tale ending. There is only acceptance, the realization that some stories leave scars instead of happy endings. Wilshire proved that modern storytelling doesn't always need dramatic events to leave a lasting impact.
Everything I got, if you say the word, then it's yours. The only thing I'm missing in life,
Sometimes, the most compelling battles happen entirely within the human heart. Scarface's "I Seen a Man Die" transformed the harsh realities of street life into a timeless meditation on fear, mortality, and redemption. Tyler, the creator's Wilshire, stripped away every layer of performance to deliver one of the most vulnerable and emotionally honest stories of the modern era.
or we could Capri or die right here. As long as you with me, I'll be at peace.
One story warns us about the cost of the life we choose. The other reveals the cost of the love we can't let go. Who wins round 3? Old school with Scarface, or new school with Tyler, the creator? Don't go anywhere, because the next matchup features one of the greatest robbery stories ever told, facing a modern masterpiece built around one unforgettable true story. Number 2. The Notorious B.I.G Warning, Old School versus Joyner Lucas. Ross Capicchioni, New School.
Wanna stick me for my paper. They heard about the Rolexes and the Lexus.
As we enter the final 2 battles, the stakes couldn't be higher. So far we've heard stories about hope, regret, love, and mortality. But this next matchup introduces something entirely different: survival. Because in the world of hip-hop storytelling, few songs build suspense quite like the Notorious B.I.G's Warning.
Paging me, and why? It's my nigga Pop from the barbershop. Told me he.
Released in 1994 on Ready to Die, the song is often described as one of the greatest crime stories ever recorded. But what makes it legendary isn't the violence, it's the tension. From the opening moments, Biggie makes listeners feel like they're sitting in the room with him as danger slowly closes in.
I feel my Beretta buck when I'ma hit you with your motherfuckers better duck.
The story begins with a phone call. A trusted friend warns Biggie that a group of men is planning to rob him. That single conversation changes everything. Suddenly, every decision matters. Should he run? Should he hide? Or should he prepare for the inevitable confrontation?
Down in Georgetown, and they heard you got half of Virginia locked down.
Biggie doesn't rush the narrative. He carefully walks listeners through every detail, from checking his surroundings to planning his response. His calm, conversational delivery makes the story feel frighteningly real. He never sounds like someone performing a script. He sounds like a man thinking out loud while trying to stay alive.
Paper neighbor, slow down, love, please chill, drop the paper. Remember that.
What separates Warning from countless other street records is its cinematic pacing. Every verse raises the stakes. Every line adds another piece to the puzzle. By the time the confrontation finally arrives, the listener is completely invested, almost holding their breath to see how it ends.
The black talent's loaded in the clip, so I can rip through the ligaments.
The production plays a huge role as well. Its eerie atmosphere creates the feeling of a late-night thriller, allowing Biggie's vivid imagery to take center stage. You can almost picture the dimly lit apartment, the nervous anticipation, and the split-second decisions that determine who walks away.
Wanna stick me for my paper. They heard about the Rolexes and the Lexus.
More than 30 years later, Warning remains a masterclass in suspense. It proved that hip-hop could create edge-of-your-seat storytelling without relying on expensive visuals or dramatic special effects. Biggie painted every scene with nothing more than his voice and his pen.
For you, I'm not gunning, nigga, I bust my gun in. Hold on, I hear somebody.
For many fans, it wasn't just one of the greatest songs on Ready to Die. It became one of the greatest storytelling performances in rap history. But if Biggie mastered fictional suspense, our next artist tells a story rooted in real tragedy.
2 weeks later, my uncle sold me a Honda Civic, a 93 with no license plate and no.
Joyner Lucas, Ross Capicchioni, New School. If Warning feels like a crime thriller, Joyner Lucas Ross Capicchioni feels like a documentary. Released in 2015, the song is based on the real-life experience of Ross Capicchioni.
He pressed the heart against my head and blew my fucking top back. Boom. I'm still conscious, I'm breathing.
A teenager who survived a brutal attempted murder after being lured into what he believed was a harmless ride with new acquaintances. Joyner opens the song from Ross's perspective, allowing listeners to experience the confusion and optimism of a young man who has no idea his life is about to change forever.
Got murked and a body found in the dirt with 1,000 rounds. It was worse than abandoned buildings and
The early verses feel almost ordinary, making the shocking events that follow even more devastating. As the story unfolds, the atmosphere changes dramatically. Trust turns into fear. Curiosity becomes panic. Every passing moment reminds listeners how quickly a single decision can alter the course of an entire life. One of the song's greatest strengths is its structure. For most of the track, the audience only hears one side of the story. Then, in a powerful twist, Joyner shifts the perspective to one of the attackers. Suddenly, listeners are forced to confront the mindset behind the crime.
He's asking why. He looked at me, I looked him dead in the eyes, and he smashed my face with the bat.
Creating a chilling contrast that few storytelling songs have attempted. The production stays minimal throughout, allowing every word to carry emotional weight. Joyner's voice changes with each character, making the dialogue feel believable without becoming theatrical.
I might be straight just as long as I pump the brakes and try not to think about it, just trust I'll be fucked.
It's a performance that blurs the line between music and dramatic acting. What makes Ross Capicchioni unforgettable isn't simply the violence, it's the humanity. The song reminds us that behind every headline is a real person whose life can never return to what it once was.
Conscious tell me, get up, nigga, get up. You're losing blood on mine, don't fall asleep.
By transforming a true story into a gripping narrative, Joyner demonstrated that modern storytelling rap could educate, provoke emotion, and keep listeners completely absorbed from beginning to end. The song quickly became one of his defining works, earning praise for its writing, emotional depth, and cinematic execution.
All I heard was a screech and he shot my arm into pieces. I'm thinking I must be dreaming and...
Now it's time to make one of the toughest decisions in this countdown. The Notorious B.I.G's warning kept us on edge with a brilliantly crafted tale of survival, proving why Biggie remains one of hip-hop's greatest storytellers. Joyner Lucas Ross Capicchioni transformed a real-life tragedy into an unforgettable narrative.
I got murked and a body found in the dirt with 1,000 rounds. It was worse than abandoned buildings and...
Reminding us that some of the most powerful stories don't need to be fictional. One story builds suspense through imagination. The other delivers heartbreak through reality. So who wins round 4? Old school with Biggie? Or new school with Joyner Lucas?
You ain't too well, oh God. Wake up, nigga. Wake up.
Don't go anywhere because the final battle is next, and it's arguably the greatest storytelling showdown of them all. Nas' I Gave You Power versus Kendrick Lamar's Duckworth. The winner of that matchup may decide the entire generation. Number 1. Nas' I Gave You Power Old School versus Kendrick Lamar. Duckworth. New School.
Barrels my dick, uncircumcised, pull my skin back and cock me, I bust off when they...
We've reached the final battle. 9 unforgettable stories have brought us here. But this last matchup isn't just another round. It's a clash between 2 songs that completely redefined what storytelling in hip-hop could be. Our old school champion comes from 1996.
Place me on his waist the moment I've been waiting. My creation was for blacks to kill blacks.
When a young rapper from Queens proved that the greatest storytellers don't just describe the world, they make you see it from an entirely new perspective. That rapper was Nas. When I Gave You Power appeared on his second album, listeners expected another lyrical masterpiece. What they didn't expect was one of the boldest storytelling concepts hip-hop had ever heard.
Jam right in my owner's hand. How you like me now? I go blab, what's that shit?
The narrator wasn't a gangster. It wasn't a police officer. It wasn't even a human being. It was a gun. From the very first verse, Nas gives a firearm its own voice, its own emotions, and its own regrets. Through that perspective, listeners witness violence, betrayal, ambition.
I might have took your first child, scarred your life, grip with your staff. I gave you power.
And fear in a way no one had attempted before. The weapon doesn't celebrate destruction. Instead, it becomes an unwilling participant, watching lives disappear every time its trigger is pulled. It was a brilliant creative risk. By removing the human narrator, Nas forced listeners to think differently about violence.
Pull me out, I watch as niggas scattered, making me kill, but what I feel it never mattered.
The gun becomes a silent witness to cycles of revenge, addiction, and desperation. It doesn't choose its owners. It simply passes from hand to hand, leaving pain in its wake. What makes the song extraordinary is how believable the concept becomes.
I crippled your style, I gave you power, I made you buck wow. How you like me now?
Within moments, you stop questioning why a gun is speaking. Instead, you're completely absorbed in the world Nas has created. His vivid imagery and intricate rhyme patterns transform abstract ideas into living scenes. Every verse builds on the last, revealing not just what happens, but why it happens.
Was made 'cause I was sprayed, I was laid in a shelf with a grenade, met a wrecked up
The song becomes a commentary on power, responsibility, and the devastating consequences of treating weapons as symbols of status. Over the years, I Gave You Power has inspired countless artists to experiment with perspective, proving that storytelling in rap has no limits when imagination meets lyrical excellence.
Niggas place me in shelves under bed, so I beg for my next owner to be a thoroughbred.
Nearly 3 decades later, it remains one of the most innovative narratives ever recorded. But if Nas made listeners see the world through the eyes of a weapon, our final challenger turns one man's family history into a story that changed modern hip-hop forever.
I might have took your first child, scarred your life, I crippled your style, I gave you power.
Kendrick Lamar. Duckworth. New School. Few songs have left listeners speechless quite like Duckworth. Released in 2017 as the closing track on Damn, Kendrick Lamar didn't simply end an album. He delivered one of the most astonishing true stories in rap history. First, the song feels like a collection of memories. Kendrick introduces 2 men whose lives appear completely unrelated. One is his father, working at a fast food restaurant to support his family. The other is a young man trying to survive through robbery and life on the streets. Their paths cross in the most ordinary place imaginable, a neighborhood restaurant. Kendrick patiently develops both characters, never revealing why this meeting matters. Every verse adds another piece of the puzzle, slowly building suspense without drawing attention to it. Then, in the final moments, everything changes. The young robber is revealed to be Anthony Top Dog Tiffith, the man who would eventually found Top Dog Entertainment and later sign Kendrick Lamar to the label that launched his career. Years earlier, Top Dog had considered robbing the restaurant where Kendrick's father worked. His family history, pimping and banking, he was meant to be dangerous. But because Kendrick's father treated him with kindness and respect, the robbery never happened. That single act of humanity changed everything. Had the robbery taken place, Kendrick's father could have been killed. Kendrick might never have been born. And one of hip-hop's greatest careers might never have existed. One funny motherfucker, a true comedian, you gotta love him, you gotta trust him. The revelation lands with incredible emotional force because Kendrick doesn't rely on shock value. Every detail leading to the ending is rooted in reality, making the conclusion feel both unbelievable and completely true. As the beat suddenly rewinds and the album circles back to its beginning. The Terror Dome drove to California with a woman on them and $500. They had a listeners realize the story isn't just about fate. It's about how one small decision can reshape generations. Duckworth became an instant storytelling classic because it combined meticulous writing, cinematic pacing, and real-life history into one unforgettable narrative. It proved that modern hip-hop could still surprise audiences in ways few believed possible. Final verdict, and just like that, the battle is complete. From Slick Rick's timeless fables to Kendrick Lamar's jaw-dropping true story. From Ice Cube's Peaceful Afternoon to Dave's heartbreaking drama. Oh, Lamar,
Hail Mary, your marijuana times is hard. Pray with the.
From Scarface's meditation on mortality to Tyler, the creator's emotional confession. From Biggie's suspense-filled crime tale to Joyner Lucas' real-life survival story. And finally, from Nas' revolutionary imagination to Kendrick Lamar's masterful twist of fate.
The light-skinned nigga that talked a lot with a curly top and a gap in his teeth. He worked the window.
10 songs, 2 generations, 1 timeless art form. The truth is, this wasn't about proving that one era is better than the other. The old school created the blueprint. The new school expanded it. Without the pioneers, these modern masterpieces might never have existed. And without today's innovators, storytelling in hip-hop wouldn't continue to evolve. Now the final decision belongs to you. Which generation won this battle? Old school or new school? Did the legends of the golden era prove that nobody tells stories like they did?
Pocket, cross the street from the projects, Anthony plant the rabbit, stuck up the place before.
Or did the new generation show that storytelling has reached an entirely new level? Let us know your winner in the comments. And if you enjoyed this episode, subscribe because the next showdown is already on the way. 5 more classics, 5 more modern masterpieces, 1 more battle for hip-hop history.
The parking spots and hopping out while harassing the corner blocks. Crooked cops told Anthony he